Okay. Ready to do some time traveling?
Always.
Well, today we're heading to India,
Oh,
where it's no secret they're facing some super intense heat waves these days.
absolutely.
But get this, they're turning to a solution that's, well, anything BUT modern.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're using terracotta, that like
Mm.
reddish brown baked earth
Yeah.
to cool things down.
Really?
I know. I was skeptical too when I saw all these articles.
So how does that even work?
That's what we're going to unpack today.
I'm intrigued.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, can simple baked earth actually make things cooler?
It's pretty remarkable how ancient wisdom can sometimes provide really practical solutions
Right.
for our modern world, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so I have like a whole stack of articles here.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm still a little skeptical.
Understandably.
Like, how W could this work?
Well, the science behind it is actually really fascinating.
Okay.
It all comes down to something called evaporative cooling.
Okay.
And one of the simplest examples of that is the matka.
The
Yeah, it's a traditional Indian earthen pot.
No, right. Like for water.
Exactly.
I actually read about this food blogger, Nandita Iyer,
Oh, yeah.
who like swears by these things. She even like avoids drinking chilled water because of them.
Really?
Yeah. She was talking about how the water inside just feels so much cooler
Hmm.
and refreshing,
Yeah.
especially with that wet muslin cloth draped over it. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
It's like the whole sensory experience, right?
It is.
You can just imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so why does it work?
It's all about the clay.
Oh,
The clay is porous, so it allows water to seep through to the outer surface of the pot. And then, as that water evaporates, it pulls heat away from the pot,
okay.
effectively cooling the water inside.
So it's like a natural refrigerator.
Precisely. A low-tech, completely natural refrigerator.
Wow. And I mean, this isn't some newfangled thing.
No, not at all.
They've been using this method in India for centuries?
Yeah, there's evidence that it even dates back to the Indus Valley civilization.
No kidding. So we're talking like ancient technology here.
We are.
But okay, so it works for a pot of water.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you scale that up to cool like a
Yeah.
whole building?
Well, that's where things start to get really innovative.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So there's this architect named Monish Siripurapu, and he had this aha moment where he basically decided to flip the concept of the matka.
Flip it.
Yeah, so instead of cooling the water inside the terracotta,
Mm-hmm.
he wondered, what if we use this evaporation to cool the air outside the terracotta?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did he do?
He designed these structures that are called beehives.
Beehives.
Yeah, and they're basically hundreds of terracotta cones all arranged in this honeycomb pattern.
Whoa, hold on. So you're telling me it's like a giant matka
Essentially, yes.
for a whole space?
For a whole space.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they pump recycled water over these cones.
Mm.
And as it evaporates, it cools the surrounding air.
That's pretty ingenious.
It is.
I did read in one of these articles, though, that how well it works
Right.
kind of depends on the humidity.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Something about wet bulb temperature.
Yeah. So imagine trying to dry a wet sponge, right?
Okay.
But you're doing it on a really humid day.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to work very well because if the air is already saturated with moisture,
Right.
evaporation slows down.
Yeah.
It's the same principle here.
But the beehives.
Yeah, so the effectiveness of this evaporative cooling really depends on how much moisture the air can actually absorb.
Oh, okay. So it might not work everywhere,
That's right.
but it's still a pretty incredible idea,
Yeah.
especially for a place like India where high heat and humidity kind of go hand in hand.
Exactly.
But wait, I read that it goes beyond these beehives, right?
It has, yeah.
Like they're actually using terracotta to design whole buildings
So buildings, yeah.
for passive cooling.
For passive cooling, yeah. There are some architectural firms, like a Threshold.
Okay.
They're really leading the way here.
So how are they doing that?
Well, they're drawing inspiration from traditional Indian designs, like those really intricate screens you see in cities like Jaipur and Jaisalmer.
Oh, right. Yeah. They're beautiful.
They are.
Like almost lattice-like.
Yeah, and they're incorporating those designs into modern buildings.
So those screens actually help keep the buildings cool.
They do, yeah. It's based on a principle called mutual shading.
Okay.
So the way the tiles are arranged,
Mm-hmm.
they prevent direct sunlight from hitting the building.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it creates like a natural shade.
Exactly, a naturally cooler and shaded environment inside.
So they took this ancient aesthetic and turned it into like a sustainable solution.
For a modern problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's not just about the temperature either, right?
No, not at all.
I read that these screens also help reduce noise
Yeah.
and even create more privacy.
Absolutely.
So it's like a multi-sensory benefit.
It is. It is.
And on top of that,
yeah.
I mean, they often use recycled terracotta, right?
Yeah.
Which is a huge win for sustainability.
Which wins.
Cooler temperatures, reduced energy consumption.
Right.
And a nod to tradition.
Absolutely.
What's not to love?
Exactly.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
It does.
Speaking of tradition, though, one of the articles I was reading told the story of Dolan Kundu Mondal.
Yeah.
This amazing terracotta artist.
Their work, yeah.
Her connection to this material is so personal.
It is.
Like her childhood home was actually built from clay.
Wow.
And they had to rebuild it every year after monsoon season.
Oh, wow.
I mean, talk about resilience and like a deep connection to the earth.
Absolutely. It really speaks to that, doesn't it?
It does. And it makes me think about the potential for this whole terracotta revival to not just cool buildings,
right,
but also provide livelihoods for artisans.
It's like Dolan.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole social impact angle I hadn't even considered.
A great point, yeah.
So it's all sounded pretty amazing.
It is.
But, you know, it's important to remember that no solution is perfect.
Right.
So I want to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of the potential downsides or limitations of using terracotta for cooling?
Well, one thing to consider is the space constraints in cities.
Right.
It can be tricky to add these terracotta screens and structures when you're dealing with limited space. And then there's also the issue of maintenance.
Oh, okay. So it's not just set it and forget it.
Not really, no.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, those intricate designs can actually trap dust and debris over time.
Right, because they're so porous.
They are.
Really, makes sense.
Yeah, so regular cleaning is essential to maintain their efficiency.
Gotcha. So any other potential drawbacks?
Well, some experts have raised concerns about the environmental impact of scaling up terracotta production. There's one article I read, it quoted Niyati Gupta. She's a researcher at the World Resources Institute. And she was highlighting some of the potential trade-offs.
Yeah.
Apparently, factory-produced terracotta tiles are much heavier than traditional handmade ones. Which means you need more energy.
To transport them.
To transport them, exactly.
So even though the material itself is natural, the manufacturing and transportation can still have an environmental footprint.
They can.
And is that it?
Well, there's one more thing to consider. Large-scale terracotta production often uses fertile topsoil as a raw material.
I see the problem.
Yeah, and that soil could be used for agriculture.
Which is, especially in a country like India.
Essential.
Yeah, definitely a problem.
It's a complex issue, for sure.
It is.
No easy answers.
Right.
But it's important to, acknowledge these potential downsides and weigh them against the benefits when we're thinking about these solutions.
It's about finding that balance, right?
It is.
We can't just assume that something's eco-friendly without looking at the whole picture.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder to, be critical and ask questions.
I agree.
As we're talking about all this.
Yeah.
It strikes me how similar these challenges are to the designs of those terracotta screens themselves.
Interesting.
There's so much beauty and ingenuity there, but also you need careful planning and consideration.
To make sure they work.
Right, to make sure they work in the long run.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
I thought so.
Yeah, it really highlights the fact that even the most promising solutions often require a nuanced approach.
So, listeners, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah. What are your initial reactions to the idea of using terracotta for cooling?
Are there any questions or concerns that come to mind?
Share your perspectives with us in the comments section of the All Sorts Podcast YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're always eager to continue the conversation and explore all the different viewpoints out there.
We are.
And, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I realize we've been so focused on the functionality of terracotta that we haven't really touched on, its soul.
It's true.
Terracotta in India is so much more than just a building material.
Absolutely.
It's deeply ingrained in the cultural fabric of the country.
It's a living tradition.
It is.
Passed down through generations of artisans.
And it takes me back to that story of Dolan Kundu Mondal and her childhood home, built and rebuilt from clay each year.
It's incredible.
It really speaks to the resilience
Yeah.
and the resourcefulness of these communities, right?
It does.
Like, they've been living in harmony with nature and using this material for centuries.
For centuries.
It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the most sustainable solutions are the ones that have been around for ages.
I agree.
And I don't know, there's something really poetic about that, don't you think?
There is. There is.
It's about recognizing the wisdom of the past and adapting it
to meet the needs of the present.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's this whole artistic dimension to terracotta that we haven't even touched on yet.
Absolutely.
I think about those intricate designs.
Right.
The textures, the colors.
It's beautiful.
It's not just functional.
Right.
It's beautiful.
It's a form of art.
It's
deeply embedded in Indian culture.
Wow, it's fascinating how one single material can have such a multifaceted impact.
I know.
Like touching on everything from climate solutions to cultural heritage to artistic expression.
It is.
It's a reminder that sustainability isn't just about technology and efficiency.
Right.
It's also about preserving traditions.
Yes.
Celebrating beauty.
Absolutely.
And honoring the connection between humans and nature.
Beautifully said.
You know, it's kind of like what we strive to do here on the All Source podcast.
It is.
Like to unearth those hidden connections.
Yeah.
To find the beauty.
In the unexpected.
In the unexpected.
Yeah.
And to inspire a sense of wonder about the world around us.
If this deep dive into the world of terracotta has resonated with you, if you felt a spark of inspiration or a desire to learn more, we invite you to join our community of curious minds.
Over on the All Sorts Podcast YouTube channel.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, keep those fascinating explorations going.
It's a bit like terracotta itself, isn't it?
It is.
Each episode, a new layer of knowledge, a new texture to explore.
I love that.
A new story to uncover.
So keep asking questions, keep exploring.
And keep those minds firing.
We'll see you in part 2 of our deep dive.
We will. Yeah, so where were we?
We were talking about the potential downsides of terracotta.
Right.
It all sounds so amazing. But like with anything, I'm sure there's some like less glamorous side to it too.
Exactly. No solution is perfect.
Right. So what else did you find?
Well, one article I read, it quoted Niyati Gupta. Wow. She's a researcher at the World Resources Institute. And she was talking about the environmental impact of large-scale terracotta production.
So even though the material itself is natural, the manufacturing, the processes might not be so great.
Right. So apparently factory-produced terracotta tiles, they're much heavier than the traditional handmade ones, which means you need more energy to transport them.
So there's a bigger carbon footprint.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
And there's another thing, large-scale terracotta production. It often uses fertile topsoil as a raw material.
So we're taking away soil.
Exactly.
That could be used for growing food.
Exactly. And especially in a country like India, where agriculture is so important.
That's a big deal.
It is. It's a complex issue.
It is.
No easy answers.
But important to talk about, right?
Absolutely. We have to acknowledge these downsides and weigh them against the benefits.
Right. Find that balance.
Exactly.
You know, it's like anything, right? We can't just assume something is eco-friendly without looking at the whole picture.
It's a good reminder to be critical.
I agree.
And ask questions.
That's what we do here on the Deep Dive.
That's what we do.
Right. Like we take a closer look.
We explore different perspectives.
Yeah. Unpack the complexities.
It's all about getting a more complete understanding.
It is. So listeners, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on all this?
What questions or concerns do you have?
Head over to the All Sorts Podcast YouTube channel.
Yeah. Leave a comment.
We're always eager to keep the conversation going.
And explore different viewpoints.
We are.
You know, it's interesting, as we were talking about these challenges with terracotta, it reminded me of the designs of the screens themselves.
Oh, how so?
Well, they're so intricate and beautiful.
They are.
But they also require careful planning to make sure they work effective.
To make sure they actually achieve what they're designed to do.
Exactly. So it's a good analogy, right?
It is. It highlights the fact that even the most promising solutions often require a nuanced approach.
So, listeners, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we want to leave you with something to think about.
What's that?
We focus a lot on the practical side of terracotta.
The functionality.
Yeah, but there's a whole other dimension we haven't explored yet.
Oh, what's that?
Its cultural significance.
Right.
And its artistic beauty.
In India, terracotta is more than just a building material.
Right. It's deeply intertwined with history and tradition.
Absolutely.
Like part of the fabric of society.
It is.
And in the next part of our deep dive,
Yes.
we're going to delve into that fascinating world.
I can't wait.
We'll discover how terracotta has shaped lives and communities.
For centuries.
For centuries, yeah. So we're back.
Back for more terracotta.
Back for more terracotta. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
From simple pots to futuristic beehives.
Yeah.
And even, like, whole buildings designed to breathe.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. You know, it's incredible how such humble material can offer so much.
So much.
Practically and aesthetically.
It really is.
You know, as we were talking about the challenges in the last part, it struck me that we've been so focused on the functionality of terracotta that we haven't really touched on its, like, soul.
It's true.
I mean, terracotta in India, it's so much more than just a building material, right?
Absolutely.
It's deeply ingrained in the culture.
It is.
Like, one article described it as a living tradition passed down through generations.
Through generations of artisans.
And it made me think back to the story of Dolan Kundu Mandal.
Yeah, yeah.
And her childhood home.
Built and rebuilt from clay.
Every year.
Yeah.
I mean, what a testament
I know.
to the resilience
of
these communities.
It really is.
Like, they've been living in harmony with nature.
Absolutely.
And using this material for centuries.
For centuries.
You know, it's this beautiful reminder that sometimes the most sustainable solutions are the ones that have been around for ages.
The ones we've forgotten about.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something so, I don't know, poetic about that.
It is. Yeah. It's about recognizing the wisdom of the past.
Yeah.
And adapting it to meet the needs of the present.
And there's this whole other dimension to terracotta that we haven't even talked about yet.
We haven't.
The artistic side.
Yes.
Think about all those intricate designs.
I know, it's incredible.
Textures.
Colors.
It's not just functional.
Right.
It's beautiful.
It's a form of art.
It is.
Deeply embedded in Indian culture.
It's amazing. How this one single material can have such a multifaceted impact.
It's incredible.
It touches on everything.
Yeah.
From climate solutions to cultural heritage to artistic expression.
It's amazing.
It's a reminder that sustainability isn't just about, you know, technology and efficiency.
Yeah.
It's about preserving traditions.
Absolutely.
Celebrating beauty.
Yes.
And honoring the connection
between humans and nature.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
It's like what we try to do here on the All Sorts podcast.
It is. Like, unearth those hidden connections.
Exactly.
Find the beauty in the unexpected.
It inspires a sense of wonder about the world around us.
So if this tour, deep dive into the world of terracotta,
has resonated with you, if it sparked some inspiration,
or even just a desire to learn more,
we invite you to join our community of curious minds.
Over on the All Sorts Podcast YouTube channel.
Yeah, head over there.
Like, share, subscribe.
Keep those fascinating explorations going.
It's a bit like terracotta itself.
Okay.
It is. Each episode, a new layer of knowledge.
A new texture to explore.
A new story to uncover.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
We will.